but if you all want to sit here for a couple more minutes. Okay. I want to call the Natchitoches Historic District Commission to order. Welcome, everyone, and I hope you've signed in, please. Roman numeral 2, the minutes from the June 6th meeting were available for review at our website or at the website for the city. Commissioners, those were sent to you for corrections. Are there any additions or corrections?
Ms. Shannon.
Move to approve the minutes.
Mr. Donahoe has moved to approve the minutes. Ms. Salter has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Sharon, they said that, I don't know if your microphone's picking me up, they said.
We can't hear you.
Not better?
Well, we go through this this is going to have to be rearranged. Okay. All right, are we okay now? Steve? Okay, I apologize, sorry. Roman numeral 3, we have had a request from Mrs. Kelly Darlton to address the commission regarding plans for the L.H. Johnson property, which she owns. Is Ms. Darlton here? Oh, well, hello, Ms. Darlton. Fine, would you come up to the podium, please? And are you Mr. Darlton, or are you, okay. I'm sorry, I was given Mrs. instead of Mr., so.
Hello, my name is Kelly Dortland.
And let me say just one thing, I'm sorry. Commissioners, this is, the Darltons do not have an application. This is for informational purposes. Okay.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at this time, I mean, we're still working with architects and everything to get everything approved and done as far as the architectural drawings and everything for what we're doing. So there has no, we're in the process of working through the plan, but you know, what I'm here for is that we're, you know, in the process of developing a plan, we're trying to clean up the river bank there with the underbrush. There's some trees that the tops have been ripped out at some point in time. That's just, they're not oak trees. They're just kind of trees that are, you know, been disturbed or destroyed by a storm or something. And there's some that are growing out into the water that's in the bank. So to get a landscape plan and a parking plan, we're trying to just remove the brush and debris back there. And, you know, there was some concern about what we were doing there, and we just want to make sure that there's no issues or we're not breaking any ordinances by removing the debris, so we can develop and have a landscape plan being submitted once we get that cleaned up. And that's kind of the thing, what I wanted to ask the committee.
Have you read the ordinance?
Pardon?
Have you read the ordinance? Are you aware of what the ordinance covers?
Well, I've read some of the work ordinance trying to find if there was an issue with clearing debris or brush, but I didn't see anything. Is there an ordinance that's there to keep us from doing that, or?
It's not a matter of keeping you from doing it. It's presenting a plan that encompasses the entire project. So if you're talking about driveways, walkways, lighting, landscape around parking lots. Ms. Rock, what is the city ordinance? Is it the city ordinance that addresses the number of square feet you have to have in a green space?
Well, it addresses the number of parking per what the use of the building would be.
Okay.
Now, there is a landscape ordinance that
Right.
dictates how you go about planting, what type of trees to plant, what type of shrubbery to plant,
Right.
and things of that nature.
Okay.
What is, what are the parking lot requirements based on your understanding of what the project is? The building?
Well, it's based upon the square footage of the building,
Okay, so it's not the use of it? it's
not the
the
use, the
size.
square footage of the
So
building.
based on the, what is the square footage, do you know of that piece of property?
I do not know right off.
So you wouldn't know what the parking requirements would be?
Not right off, no.
Do
But
you
that
know?
would be something.
Well, we have an architect working on that for us at this moment, trying to put a parking plan together and everything, but really, this was not for that. We will submit a parking plan, we will submit a landscape plan, but it is so overgrown in there. I brought one landscaper over there, and he said, until we clean this up to where we can see what we're dealing with, I can't give you any kind of, I could just throw a number out there, and, but they're, you know, I can't develop a plan if they can't see what they're up against, because it is really overgrown.
Do you know what the square footage of the building is?
The total square footage of the building is 12,000 square feet.
So it'll be, I think it's, one parking spot for every 200 square feet, depending on what we're gonna classify that building or the use of the building to be,
One for every 200?
square feet, depending on what the use is.
And what is the use? What will the use be? Do you know that yet? The
What-
use of the building?
What are we using the building for?
Yes, sir.
Well, it's going to be a multi-purpose use building right now that we're going, but before we throw a bunch of things out there, we are trying to make sure the building can do what we would like to do with it. I don't want to put a lot of stuff out there and then we're not able to fulfill those things that we said we were going to do. Because like I said, the architect, we've got some engineers looking at the building. So I really don't want to go into saying I'm going to do a lot of these things with this building and then I can't follow through because of some reason or the other. I would, once our engineers get through looking at the building, the architect comes through and goes through that with us and says, you're okay to do this, you're okay to do that. You know, then we can start putting our plan together to submit to the councils, to the city and to the.
Have you spoken with anyone who serves on the Waterway Commission, or Mr. Rhodes, who's chairman of it? Because what you're looking at is a pretty good slice of a bank.
Correct. I did, as far as, I spoke to my attorney, and he said as long as we are not interfering with the water, in other words, not putting anything in the water or not going into the water, then the Waterway Commission would have no issues with it. But if we cannot go into the water or do anything inside the water. As far as the brush and debris on the bank, they had no say on it.
How deep is that lot overall?
I'd have to look up the plat on that as far as to see how deep. It goes all the way to the fort
I know
property
that. I
there
know
as far
that,
as,
yeah.
I would be guessing at the measurement.
You
The
don't-
building's 150 feet long, I know that, and 80 foot wide.
You have any so you don't have any idea what the size of the overall lot is?
I mean, I would be guessing, I mean, as far as the overall, I do have that information,
I
I did
understand.
not bring that with me.
That's fine. That seems, if my math was right, at 12,000 square feet, one over 260 parking spots, does that sound about right?
It sounds about right.
Well-
But with that being, based again, what he's gonna use
Right.
Yeah.
the use for, he may or might not be able to do that. And that, if that's not the case, if they're not willing to do that many parking spaces, he will have to come before planning and zoning for a
That's for a
variance. of the
variance,
park.
okay.
And this is nothing official, but I do have those measurements. I pulled a tape on everything, and I based it, I think, on 10-foot spacing, but it was around 70 parking spots. Now, that's just me doing it.
This is just off the top.
Yeah, that's about, you think 70 is what's going to
70,
be required?
with what's there. Now, there's a lot of underbrush and stuff that is there still, that, you know, we can get a better, clearer view on exact measurements, but I
My
did
question is on the clearing of the riverbank and all the brush and everything. Yes, there's a lot of brush behind the building all the way to the fort. And what you've cleaned so far, you have a pretty darn good idea that the rest of the bank is going to look the same. And my question is, why would you have to clear the rest of that riverbank, strip it down all the way to the dirt from where you've stopped now all the way to the fort, which is probably another 100 feet or more, until you know what you want to do with the property?
Well, just from, the riverbank gets steeper as it goes back.
Right, so
From,
it's useless, you know, you can't do much with it.
well, and there's a ravine there. But the ravine, I don't know if we could fill some of that in, because the ravine comes back into the property a good ways. So we would need to kind of clear that to review that as well.
Well, let me ask you this, what do you,
I know.
I think part of our concern, or at least my concern, is that, let's say that you remove all this underbrush, and after doing that, you realize, hey, I don't have enough usable land to build 60 to 70 parking spots. And so you decide not to go forward with the project or whatever use of it. Have you thought about what you're gonna do to ensure that there's not a bunch of erosion because of the removal of all that underbrush? I mean, once you remove all that, if you don't do something soon, you're gonna have to start losing a lot of that to just erosion.
Well, regardless, I would have to do something with it regardless. It's eroding now. The bank is continuously eroding. The one thing that, in our cleanup, that we did not want to do is disturb the soil. So we're trimming it all. We're not uprooting it because I don't want to create any more erosion that's there. But regardless, it's going to have to be addressed if nobody touches nothing, in every year that goes by, it's just going to get worse. Someone is going to have to address it, and I'm not backing up. I'm moving forward with this project. And we've got a lot of funds tied up in it now, and I want it to be as beautiful as everything there is around us. To be an addition to the city of Natchitoches.
May I ask you what your thoughts are in terms of the drive that takes you out to College Avenue, where you can either go straight across and go into the brewery, or you can turn right or left. It's such an awful intersection. Do you have any plans as far as the way you're going to treat that? Are you going to try and work with the city to move that intersection? It's really bad.
It is, for many, many years, it's been I would say that if folks would honor the speed limit and everything that's through there, which a lot don't, but if they did, it would be a safer turn there. But
Yeah.
whatever the city would, one thing that we talked about, and of course, we would have to work closely with the city's programs and stuff that they have for the future of that, is maybe put up caution signs in there. If there is an expansion where that road is straightened out, absolutely, it would be a safer passage through there than that sharp curve. But most definitely, we will work closely with the city, and we don't want to create any incidents there with anything that we would do, which that's the reason we're trying to work closely with our architects to make sure we got enough parking, there in our facility that we have in our property.
How will you screen your parking?
That was my next question. Have you thought about, in all the ordinance, you have to have screening in the historic district of your parking lots? And it
Have to
has
have what now?
Screening of your parking lots.
Like a.
So they're not in view. And the way the back of the property, you're thinking on the back of the property, nobody can see, but yet you still can. You have all the neighbors on Williams Avenue there that it's their right too to have the privacy that we would extend to anyone downtown in the situation where we have parking lots. And have you thought about how you screen? Whereas if you left some of that natural foliage there on the bank, could that possibly be some screening for you as well, where you wouldn't have to build something else to screen?
Well, I don't think that, as far as screening, now are we talking about screening from the highway, or are we talking about screening from the river?
The parking lot, wherever you build the parking lot.
Yeah, as far as, are you asking from what perspective? If you have to, it has to be, the visibility has to be screened from the highway or from?
Or both?
I would think you'd have to just obscure from both. I think that the best example is the city bank parking lot.
Right.
It's screened in every direction, with just different landscaping.
Well, it
And
has a
the-
combination of iron fencing.
Well,
and,
as far as the screening goes, I know across the street, the brewery is there is no screening, it's open to the front. But the building does screen from the road, a good portion of that. Now, as far as from the riverside, if there would be a concern of screening there, we can most definitely do some kind of privacy fence to where it would, screen, from that, if it became a issue.
The design guidelines for the historic district state specifically, all redeveloped or new public parking lots are required, that's public, but we would have that as far as regular parking lots, are required to have a perimeter screening of landscaping, fences, walls, or a combination thereof. So.
That would be in our parking plan, when
And
we.
your lighting, any
The lighting.
walkways you'd have.
Correct. That
And
would be in
where
our.
There is another major issue with lighting. When they did the brewery, we had an issue where they wanted to illuminate their parking lot to a greater, so it'd be safer for everyone there. And when they put up the lighting, it shone into the homes on the other side of the river. And so they had to go back in and redirect the lighting to where it was not invasive to the residents.
And I'm sure,
over there.
we would most definitely have that, we would make sure that was happening where we would not create a glare or something for the neighboring properties.
See, these are all issues that have to be brought to your attention and also that have to come before the commission to be approved.
Correct.
That's why we would ask that you come
Right.
tonight so we could get a better understanding and that you had a better understanding of what we require of everyone that's doing things in the district.
When do you expect to have a plan to present as far as the parking and landscape?
Well, like I said, the architect's working on it currently. For a landscape plan, until we remove the debris and stuff, he doesn't want to give us any kind of plan until he can get a good game plan for the whole entire bank.
Any other questions or information? What we will need from you, and it's outlined in the ordinance, correct? I mean, if you need another copy of the ordinance or anything like that, we're certainly willing to work with you. This is important because of the residences across and also because of the development of a really key property, an important property in the district. So thank you for coming and thank you for sharing your ideas with us. I would suggest that before you do anything, you get something on paper, something that's concrete as far as what your intentions will be, whether it's to put the parking lot on the side, toward the back, whether to have another entrance, the surfaces, the lighting, like I said, walkways, anything like that.
Okay.
In addition to the ordinances, I suggest maybe also getting a copy of the design guidelines that go through what's required of the parking lots. They have some pretty detailed attachments to it that kind of go through what's expected as far as screening and landscaping around parking lots.
And those are the
Figure 6.
Yeah, those are the guidelines that go along with the ordinance itself.
Yeah, if you look at figure 6, I mean, they kind of lay out what's expected. So
Right.
I would suspect your landscape architect, or whoever the architect is who's designing your parking lot, probably needs to familiarize themselves with that. Because that's what we'll be basing our decision on, whether or not to approve that plan.
Just in fairness, we have several visitors tonight who have properties along Cane River across from where your projected footprint of that building and everything else will be. And I think one of the ladies wanted to speak or ask questions.
Yes.
Ms. Melder, you want to come to the podium, please?
Thank you to this group for your hard work preserving our historic district. We greatly appreciate it. Mr. Dartlon, we're your neighbors across the river. I'm Brenda Melder, and we have several other people here, and we just want to let you know who we are, okay? So we can be good neighbors with each other. We're members of our community organizations that support so many things, like we all are business owners in this town. We work with historical preservation groups, every one of us. We're supporters of our educational institutions. All of us are NSU grads, so go Demons. We've had some experience in the past with businesses across the river, and we've had good neighbors there. And that's all we're trying to do, is to continue the understanding. We just want a little transparency, and you did a very good job of explaining where you're at right now, but we have some additional questions just for us so we can all be on the same page. We love the old building. I think that's one of the most beautiful buildings in that area, and it's going to be a welcome change following the guidances of this historic district commission. So I have some ladies, if you'll come join me, have a few questions that may have already been answered, but just for clarity. So this is Miss Lee Aiken. She's across the river too. So. And Miss Linda Murray.
Thank you, and again, welcome. We want to be your good neighbors. The questions we had, I think you've mostly answered, but just the questions we had written down. What types of events are you going to have at your facility? Will they be indoor, outdoor, concerts, music? Do you have any idea?
Well, again.
Would you go to the podium, please? So, thank you.
Again, there's a lot of things that has to take place before we lay everything out, because I hate to start saying we're going to do this, we do have a lot of plans for that. Will there be music involved in it? Yes, there will be music involved in it. We've talked about weddings, we've talked about different things, but not necessarily pinpointed everything that we would do with the building, because there's a lot of planning that still has to continue to make sure everything is going to be structurally possible for us to do events or anything like that there.
I would just think, keeping in mind that people live across the river, that if you're gonna have music, that, y'all think about that in advance, about ways to minimize that, the noise pollution to those people.
Mr. Dortmund, there's a noise ordinance by the commission that has been established that, that we will expect will be maintained. So, and that's just so we can sleep at night. There's a time to start, there's a time to end. We have grandchildren, we have elderly parents that we take care of, and sometimes if it gets too noisy, they can't go to sleep. So hopefully that in your plan, it will be following their guide that they've established for the time slots and for the entertainment as well.
Absolutely.
There's a certain decibel, I think, that has to be addressed, if I'm not
Yeah, I
mistaken.
can't remember what it
If you
is.
go over that, then it becomes a problem. So, and we're very, because the river's not wide where we live, where you are. It's very broad between two bridges, the one side of the bridge versus the other, but it's very narrow, and it does reverberate a lot of sound. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions, Ms. Burke?
The area that you have cleared already, what do you plan to do with it?
We're going to get a landscape plan to see what all we've got to plant and to maintain, there's no erosion there. Now, we will build some kind of retaining wall there to make sure we don't have any continued erosion.
That's one of the things I've noticed. I've stood in my backyard and watched the dirt roll and fall into the river ever since you started just scraping everything off the riverbank. So are you going to dredge the river there to get out all that has already fallen in it before you start building a seawall?
Well, that is part of, once we get the riverbank cleaned off, we will have to put a bulkhead down there and, to maintain the land that we have.
Because it's already started falling in there and we haven't had a real rain. We've been in a drought for what, months
Forever.
now. If we have a real rain, the whole riverbank is just gonna roll into and, will he be responsible for cleaning up that, or how is that gonna work?
That's one of my concerns, is why I mentioned it earlier. I mean, I just have some experience with it around the bayou, around my house, not when I owned it, well, but when the city cleaned it up, when Mr. Showers owned it. And there's been horrible erosion there because there was nothing done after they removed a lot of the brush. And it's now gonna cost me a fortune if I ever wanna go in there and clean it up, because I'm gonna have to move so much dirt in there. So that's my biggest concern, is that you don't follow, I don't mean this in a bad way, but just from a business standpoint, if you make a decision that this is not feasible to do, and then you walk away from the project, that we haven't just kind of left a problem out there and it continues to erode and cause those problems. So, I mean, are you fairly confident that y'all going through with this project? I mean, what's the?
Is there a way to clear, like, if you take where the riverbank comes in at the top and it meets the land, if you cleared everything at the top back and left what is on the riverbank right now until you know what you want to do and then clear it, rather than clearing the whole thing and risking the damage done to the riverbank?
And do you mind, please go to the podium, please.
I mean, would that help, Jared? Something like that?
As far as
Hold that?
the removal of it, we're not we're not digging anything. We're not going in there, we're taking cutting the limbs or the brush down, taking an excavator and grabbing the brush and moving it out of there or pulling it up with a rope or something. We're not literally digging into the riverbank.
But if you're pulling the brush out, it pulls
We're
the
not-
roots out.
We're cutting it out.
I'd have to go there and look at it. I'm not, so are all the roots from the brush, are we not, so if I look at it now, it's not dirt that I'm looking at?
You're gonna be looking at dirt.
Yes.
Stand in my backyard and you can see the dirt, and I've seen the dirt roll into the river.
Maybe considering starting with your landscape architect and starting there as far as a tentative plan. It doesn't have to be a to-scale plan, but addressing this through your landscape architect, because that seems to be your big hang-up right now, not being able to do certain things that you want to do until you get things worked out with your architect, your landscape architect, and I guess your architect also. But would you, if you can keep us posted of what you're planning to do, and let us work with you, and as these ladies said, let's all be good neighbors. If we can work with you and work this out, which we all want to do, I think it would be a positive move, and I'm speaking for myself, not the commissioners. I think it would be a positive move to start with your landscape architect and say, look, if we do this, how does that affect the back part of the property, or coming into the property, or the footprint of the building? Are you going to add on to the building? Are you going to have brick walkways from the parking lot to your event area? So that would be a suggestion, and again, I don't know how you all feel about that.
Well, I mean, that will all be submitted at some point and, once we get everything developed and done as far as a plan. But like I said, this was just to continue to remove the debris, because architect's he's gonna be guessing on what all needs to happen. If
I can put this in committee and ask the three commissioners that we have here now if they would be willing to meet with you, either on site, Jared, Dr. Owens, Ms. Salter, and get a feel. It's sort of hard to envision what you're talking about as far as chopping off trees and pulling up roots. So would that be agreeable with you?
that would be fine.
Okay.
And, the concern of if it's, time is of the essence.
Sure.
You know?
No, we're talking about like within the week?
Yeah.
Would that be
I don't
agreeable?
think so.
Anytime.
Mr. Donahoe, would you chair that
Sure.
committee, please? So, and they would have the authority, after meeting on site with you, they would have the authority to make the final decision. And then maybe that'll give you a way to move forward, but to move in the right direction.
I can tell you based on experience, the people that you have living across from you on the water, are very reasonable people. I remember a lot of these same discussions, not about the brush and everything, came up with the brewery, and they worked together to reach a resolution I think everybody was happy with. So
Yeah.
I know these people, they have very valid concerns in my opinion, but I know they're reasonable people that will, work with you such that everybody can kind of come to a happy resolution. I just think it's probably best to put everybody in the same room and talk about it, what I would suggest.
Okay? Would you get in touch with Mr. Darlton and work out a time that's convenient? So
You have his
Dr.
number and
Owens,
everything?
Mr. Donahoe, and Ms. Salter.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Well, thank you, and thank you, ladies, very, very much.
Can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
I was wondering, do you plan to build a dock there? And-
Possibly.
Possibly, okay. For people to arrive that way, come by water and get on your dock and then up to the venue?
I'm not going to say we won't do that, and I'm not going to say we're at the point of doing it.
Okay. And in regard to music, do you plan to have bands outdoors and dancing and whatever that would be louder than if you were to have music inside the building?
I think we would probably, if anything, we would do, no different than like the downtown stuff.
Well, so outdoors, yeah.
Uh,
Well, downtown is outdoors, there's no buildings. On the riverbank.
We'll be on the lakes, on that side, as far as hosting bands or anything like that, there's not much room.
Yeah, I wouldn't think there'd be a lot of room to have outdoor events
Yeah,
there.
if we did anything, it would be inside.
Because
Okay.
looking at the lot, online, it's what, about 1.3 acres? Yeah, with needing 60 to 70 parking spots and the landscaping that's gonna be required to go around it, I wouldn't think you'd have much room to do much back there other than parking and landscaping stuff, so.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the transparency and for answering the questions. And again, ladies, thank you very much for your interest and your concern. And Mr. Donahoe will be in touch with the three of you. Okay? All right. Thank you. You're welcome to stay if you'd like. Okay. All right. Old business, Roman numeral 4. Do we have any old business to come before the commission, Ms. Robb?
No, ma'am.
All right. Roman numeral 5, 07-1201, Dr. Brown. Commissioners, if you'll look in your folders, you'll see the house that was damaged where the tree fell on it. Dr. Brown came in, filled out an application. The damage to the tree at 136 Second Street requires major repairs. He asked if he could get approval. He had someone to work on this. Ms. Rock and I approved it administratively. Are there any questions concerning that property?
I talked to Steve about it the day it happened. He, I don't know if this is included, he talked about maybe changing the pitch of the roof a little bit, just,
Let's see.
do you know what, I mean, whatever you approved, I'm fine with, I moved to ratify. I was just wondering if all that got
I
worked
don't,
out.
Nicole.
let's see what that says. The architectural shingles color stayed the
Doesn't say
same.
anything about it.
No change from its current colors. All repairs will return the house to its original appearance.
Well, then I'd move to ratify, yeah.
Mr. Donahoe has moved to ratify. Is there a second?
Second.
Dr. Owens has seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposition? Okay. 07-1202, Greg Baker, State Farm Office. This is signage. It's at 455 Second Street. Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks for having me. My name is Greg Baker Jr., and I'm opening a new business here in town starting September 1st, State Farm office. And I've known Mike Murphy for quite a while, and he and I had kind of worked together a plan on sharing his office space. And so he's got a nice corner lot there on Two Line and 2nd Street, and he's got his current sign that I believe he got in 2014, he put up there. That's facing 2nd Street, and he was going to use the front entrance, and our plan was for me to use the back entrance, so that back door, and have my sign on Two Line Street, which is basically about the same as the sign that he has. You know, we get them through State Farm. I've got the schematics of it. I've got the colors, which basically are the same colors that State Farm uses and the same colors that are on his sign currently. It'll actually be a little bit smaller than his sign because it's just going to have the State Farm logo and Greg Baker Jr. on there, and then maybe underneath it, gregbakerjr.com, just for my internet microsite. And so that's kind of what the plan was, and so I was filling out an application to get a sign approved, and I would need, corporate asked me if I could get, like I know I looked on y'all's website about the, however many lineal footage, I get square inches of sign
You're on
and
a
stuff like
corner
that.
lot.
So you get double, well, you get more.
No, because Mike's, if his sign exists,
It
that
counts
has
towards
to
it.
be
counted.
Yeah,
It
that
counts,
counts
yeah.
towards it. One sign within the district that we've kind of used as a guideline, just 2 doors down from you, is Sean Daly's sign. It fits the lot well, the size is right, it's not intrusive to the street or to the buildings. So that kind of gives you an idea, you know,
How many square,
what's left for
yeah,
him.
what's left? Let me ask it better. If, once you take into account the size that he's proposing in his application, do the two signs combined comply with the ordinance?
They do comply. I don't remember what the square footage was for this particular application, but he is in compliance.
Yeah, Mike's, I got the information from State Farm, because the same people that are doing my sign did his, and they looked it up, and his current sign was 48 inches wide by 42 inches tall.
Okay, this
so
says
that's-
48 by 36.
Now, that's the sign I was proposing for
Okay.
myself, which is going to be a little bit
I'm
smaller.
sorry, yes.
Yeah,
That's, if both of those are within agreement within what he can have, then I don't see any problem. You know, State Farm would just need to know that we've approved it to
Yeah.
this dimensions, and
okay.
I
I
move
would
to
think that
approve
would
the
be okay.
application.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Mr. Donahoe, seconded by Ms. Salter to approve the application. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, good
Good
luck.
luck to you, welcome to our neighborhood.
Thank you so much.
Okay. 07-1203, Boswell Enterprises, this is Stella's, which is signage on Front Street.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
We bought the Christmas store
Oh,
from Clary's and turned it into Stella's. It'll be a Christmas store. And we're just trying to get our sign up, and it was submitted. Patrick Hawyer over at Platinum Signs prepared it for us and sent it in, you know.
Back in
okay.
April.
And that's,
Is it two-sided, just like they all are on
Yes,
Front
ma'am.
Street? And
Yes,
down
ma'am.
from the chains and
Yes, ma'am.
same size?
Right.
Does the size of it comply with the?
It does.
I move to approve the application.
Mr. Donahoe has moved to approve the application as
I'll
presented.
second.
Ms. Salter has seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Y'all come by, we got 25% off Christmas during July.
Oh, good, good.
Good luck to you.
We can put our red, white, and blue just on there, huh?
You should have negotiated a bigger discount before we voted. I would have done it. No, I know. Mhm.
Oh, okay, Rachel Liddy, Cedar House of Natchitoches, 315 Williams Avenue, that's signage. Hi.
Yes, I am Rachel Liddy and the owner of 315 Williams Avenue, and we just want to get our sign approved for the
Is
house.
that the house that was just painted? The little white one?
Yeah.
It's cute. Turned out
Thank
really
you.
nice. Yeah, it turned out really nice.
Y'all approved those paint colors, but yes.
Yeah. You can actually
did.
see the house, and
It's
clear. It
nice,
looks
yeah.
very nice.
We're very happy how it turned
Yeah, it
out.
looks really, really good.
Thank
What's
you.
it, is it a bed and breakfast?
It's going to be vacation,
Okay.
It's going to be.
hopefully.
Oh, a vacation house?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay.
Well, it does.
14.
It's 315 Williams.
Okay.
Ms. Rock, is she in compliance?
She is compliant.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the application.
All right, Ms.
second.
Salter has moved to approve the application. Was that Dr. Owens or Mr. Donahoe? All in favor? Any opposition?
Thank
Okay,
you.
good, thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
The Cedars, were they the original owners of the home, or?
So Roy Shears was before, and right before he passed away.
Oh, okay. Okay, I wondered if, how you came, that's where it came.
His son is my brother-in-law.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, well, that's neat, okay.
Good luck.
Well, good luck to y'all.
Thank you very much. Okay. Liddy, Ackle Investments, Martha Murphy, and that is for signage. Well, oh, no.
Well, y'all look the same, so it
Oh,
doesn't
and
matter.
I did say Martha.
Yeah.
That's okay. Her name was on there. So, she submitted the colors. This house is at 211 Sydney,
That little side street.
that little street that doesn't have but a handful of houses on it.
Yeah.
And, I don't really know a whole lot, y'all. I assume y'all have the
Well, she came
colors.
to me, and we talked about colors, and I
She
helped her
said
pick
she
the colors
did,
and all.
and so she said she thought she was okay.
We have the.
Yeah, it looks really nice together.
And
It kind of mimics the Reagan House on Reagan Street. It's kind of into those color palette.
Is it just paint, essentially,
Yeah.
and repairing some of the?
Yeah.
Well, then I moved to approve the application.
Mr. Donahoe has moved to approve the application as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Dr. Owens has seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any
Aye.
opposition?
thank y'all.
Okay.
Appreciate your time.
Sorry you had to wait so long. What? Well, just come anytime you
That's right.
like.
Sound like you can go out in that hallway out there and work it out for them.
That'd be a good idea, wouldn't it? Okay. Ms. Sharplin has been so patient, and you... All right, you should all have this.
We have
in your packet. This is Ms. Sharplin's third trip here over the past 2 days, because she's...
I thought I had to come tomorrow because I thought I had the wrong day today, so I'm pretty good.
This is the description of what they're doing. This is on 2 line.
Right behind Mike's office, I guess.
Yeah, right behind there, and extensive construction and renovation. Okay, and it's 100 years old this year?
It's supposed to be, according to the information I got when we
Oh,
bought it,
God.
it's supposed to be 100 years old, so we want to spruce it up and paint it and do the roof and do some railings
Great.
on the steps
Oh, yeah.
and repairs because they have some rotten boards and
And, you know, I read everything as far as the roof goes, where you're just going to replace some tiles.
yes,
that
and
are
then he's going to
broken.
paint, that little extra thing says he's going to paint them to match. And
Right.
then, we're not sure, but we think we're going to go ahead and do the carport. He said that needed to be changed. He didn't have to find some
Right, because of the
tiles.
way it was applied and
Right.
everything, and it may be architectural shingles, which is
Right.
what is acceptable within the district, so.
Nothing is leaking. We just want, the roofs are not leaking. We just want to get
The
them done.
suggestion I would make is if you get into that replacement of the shingles on the garage area, to bring a sample or let Mrs. Rock know exactly what you've selected. A lot of people have been using the weatherwood as the color.
Okay.
And they will need to know to put that in your file.
Okay, well, the guy that's supposed to do the roof on the house is supposed to get tiles that match what's up there, but he said they might not be the same color, so that's why he was gonna paint them to go with the roof that's on there.
Right, I was talking about
Then
the
the
new
carport, yes,
part,
that's a
the new
different thing.
part.
So bring you a sample of what we're gonna use?
Just so it can be on the
Just,
file.
yeah, we need to,
And then
To
it'll-
bring it to you?
you
when we
can print it
decide?
off of the internet, whatever shingle you end up getting, it always
Okay.
shows the different
All right,
colors. and just-
when we decide, he decides what
Right,
goes up
yeah.
there.
But
It's just
weatherwood
easier
is-
in
Yeah,
50 years when somebody comes back, who owns it down the road,
Right.
wants to we can know what they're replacing it with and can approve it.
Okay, and then the paint samples, you have the paint samples.
Those are all right here, yeah.
And the paint sample of the house itself is the color it already is. Of course, the one that was there is kind of faded, but they told me to bring a chip off the house, and they matched it. And then right now, most of the house is all that color, but we're gonna put some trim like on windows or something with the white, the oyster white. And then the brick color at the bottom, that goes underneath the brick, there's like a stucco-like thing all the way around toward the ground.
Yes.
And I actually brought a piece of what was there, and he kind of matched it and had to make up the paint for the one at the bottom of the house.
Well, it's such a charming house. Y'all have done so much with it.
Now, what's the deal with the ironwork?
Okay, I took pictures of the ironwork that was already there. That was there when we bought it. We need to put some railings on the steps in the front and the steps in the back, because
Okay.
we are getting older, and we have had friends come and they said, y'all, we need something to, I mean, really, we kind of worry that they're gonna fall.
No, I'm very happy y'all want to use iron. That's
Yeah, so,
fabulous.
and I'm gonna try to get somebody to match what's already there. That's the pictures of the gate that was there and the, you know,
That'd be really nice.
and
Yeah.
so we'll just kind of,
Now, does she need to come back for that, for our approval?
No, we can
Okay.
approve it. The
And
paint
those are-
color would be.
No, I'm talking about
approved.
the iron. the
As
design
long
of
as
the
it's,
iron.
as long as it's summer, I don't think,
Yeah.
I'm not as concerned about the intricate
Okay.
little details of how.
Well,
the
and she's
iron-
got the
Right, okay.
photographs.
Okay, we
The
know that it'll be
ironwork
done.
for the
Okay.
step railings in the front and the back to match the current ironwork.
Match
Yeah,
is
that's
substantially similar to what's existing.
Yeah.
yes, I called and asked the Hines, that's who we bought the house from, and he,
Oh,
I
that's
don't think he
right.
could remember where they got the stuff, and so, you know, he wasn't very much help trying to tell me where, to match it, in other words, so I just thought we'd find somebody that
Well,
could
it's
match it.
You can do
It's
it,
so
yeah.
nice.
Yeah,
It's-
It's very nice. Well, I'll make a motion to approve the application.
Ms. Salter has moved to approve the application. Is there a second?
A second.
Which one was that?
Jerry.
Mr.
all of it?
Donahoe has seconded. Any further
Okay.
discussion? Anything else, Ms. Sharpling?
No, let me ask you, if we would to maybe decide to wait on the carport on the roof, do I have to come back, or I can just do that later because it's been approved?
As long as it's been within 6 months, you can.
6 months, okay.
You can do it. And if you do decide to do that, call Ms. Rock, and she'll work with you. to
Okay,
get
I'll
that
tell her,
taken
but
care
I mean, we probably will do it now, but in case, I didn't know how,
Sure.
in other words, we approve, but how long do we have to get it done? That's
6
kinda-
months, I thought.
I'm
At
sorry?
least at the
That's
start
been the
within 6
policy,
months.
yeah.
huh? Yeah, at least start within 6 months, I think.
6 months, okay, yeah, we can do that, okay.
of. Thank you.
That's it, thank
To
you.
vote.
Oh, yeah, all in favor? Aye. Thank
Thank
you for
y'all.
being so patient.
It was interesting, like they said.
Well, it was. I think it might get a little bit more interesting. Okay, Commissioners, I wanted to share something with you under other business. I was given this. It's the Public Works, the announcement about Public Works relocating Texas Street and the. And I just wanted you to be aware of this. This was Carolyn, an article that Carolyn Roy wrote. Do you know anything more about this, other than the fact that they're going to try and move the Public Works office, but
They
not,
haven't given me
not,
no
there's been
final,
some.
no when it's gonna start. I don't know anything on
Okay,
it.
there's been some speculation in the community that the old buildings, the old tin buildings would be torn down.
I hope not.
Well, good. That's how we feel about it too, right?
I haven't heard that.
That's the character of the place
Oh, yeah.
over there.
So that,
Correct.
converting it into an economic corridor is hopefully what they're talking about. But I wanted, in fact, someone gave me this, and then I got 2 phone calls about it. So there seems to be some confusion.
From my understanding, what they're trying to do, not to remove the buildings, but to actually use the buildings in the
That was the
renovation of the
yeah.
property, but not to tear them down.
Similar to what the brewery has done with their.
Right.
You know, there's been some discussion
yeah.
about making a walkway across Chaplin's Lake and having a theater, all kinds of things, so,
I've heard all kinds of things, but
okay.
I believe what I see.
That's right.
Yeah,
Well, that sounds like a lot of money.
it does.
Well, I've been told too that this is in connection with a federal grant that's been written, and I don't know, I think a lot of this will hinge on that, at least from what I've been told. I don't know what the results of the grant competition are at this point. I think there would have to be an influx of money for any.
It
Yeah,
will.
a whole bunch.
A whole lot.
Yeah, it was a multi-million-dollar grant.
Well, I just wanted, I didn't know whether you all had seen this or not, and I actually was out of town, but someone delivered it to me, so I wanted to share. You just keep us posted on anything you hear.
I will.
Any other business to come before the commission? I think that the gentleman understands that there are rules that are going to have to be followed.
I don't think he was aware of a lot of that.
He was not. He was not aware. He knew that it was in the historic district, but that's all he knew. I don't think he understood the full potential of what being an HDC actually really means. Yeah.
I'm still concerned about him. Well, we'll get into that later.
We'll figure it out.
All right. Motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.